VDC, we are finally back after like 6 weeks.
Yeah.
It's been too long. So, we dropped the ball a little bit, but it's okay. We only come for big days, right? We come on Christmas, Super Bowl Sunday, start of the season, stuff like that. So, you know, but
Yeah.
no, we're here. Got a nice agenda for you guys today. Gonna be running through some stuff that is a little bit long awaited, but better late than never. So I'll let Jordo take it away on that, and then we can jump into the first segment.
Yeah, no, it's good to be back. You thought we were gone forever, VDC, but your favorite podcasters are back, and we do have a special guest, a really talented person that we've talked about plenty of times on the podcast and gave shout outs through their artwork and also their gameplay. They've kind of made a name for themselves in that way too, and a good friend of ours. Today we have joining us is King or Rafa, whichever one you may know them by. Rafa, say hello to the fans out there.
Yo, what's going on? What's going on, guys? Happy to be here.
But
Dude,
yeah,
what's
no,
good, man?
we've got an exciting podcast though. We're gonna go and break down some stuff from each tier, maybe some debating going on. And I see some differences over here on this spreadsheet, so it'll be interesting to see. Like maybe we'll have some people that'll back down from their hills. Who knows? But you never know what to expect. And then so we'll go through the tiers, and then also. A long-awaited podcast pick is back for the L7 Gamba, so stay tuned at the end of the podcast for that. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. But Rafa, how are you? How's the season been? Your first season?
I've been good, man. Honestly, the season has been a roller coaster, let's just say. Honestly, did not have a really good start. We had a lot of team issues, role issues, anything that you could probably think of. But honestly, team really just pulled it together in the middle of the season, went on an insane 8-0 map winning spree, especially against someone in this call. But
Amen.
but yeah, honestly, we put ourselves in a really nice spot, and I think, dude, we're about to make some Mox history. That's all I know.
Hell yeah, baby.
Yeah, it's been a
Yeah,
while
first
since
first playoff.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's been a while since like that org, rebranded or not, has had success in the playoffs in that tier.
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that Lee's made some changes, I think, to the culture along with Hunter. And, now shout out Driss. Congratulations on, joining the franchise management
Oh, really?
conglomerate. Yeah, it just happened today, actually. So, pretty cool stuff there. They got another good AGM going in that, makes it like a fun winning culture, and they're seeing success through a good chunk of their tiers. I mean, I think there's one maybe that they aren't in playoffs for. I could be wrong here.
I don't know, actually.
Oh, actually, they're in playoff contention for all their tiers right now. So, I mean, first year of Mox is they're moxing. So,
Yeah, going
yeah,
starting with a bang.
I think the only thing that really just irks me is that Tiberson's having any success in this league, man. It just burns me to the core. Nah, I'm just
That
kidding.
hurts me as well.
I love Tib. Yeah, shout out Tib. But yeah, let's kind of get into it a little bit, breaking down, kind of the tier in itself, obviously keeping in mind at the time of recording that Prospect and Mythic tiers are locked and loaded and about to head into playoffs. We're kind of going to go through these lists and give our opinions on who we think is, the top five players, kind of at this point in the season. There might be some differences and, kind of, if there are differences and you think that you need to fight for this player, give your reasons, and maybe you'll change some opinions. I'd like to see in the comments, any of the viewers, give your takes. You think we're really off? You think we're pretty spot on? What are your thoughts on the tier rankings as well. Obviously, playoffs coming, which means that all stars are on the way, MVP votes on the way. So I'll be interested to see the community's thoughts. But starting with
All right.
prospect, Rafa, do you want to lead us off? Who do you think the the best player in the prospect tier is right now?
Ooh, I mean, for me right now, I have Jim Josh. I don't know, that guy's a demon from what I've seen, especially that Cha team. Like they've just been on fire since like they figured it out in the preseason. Since I think in the preseason they had like a pretty rough start,
I don't
but
know that.
yeah, I don't know. Uh, that that guy, every time I watch him, he just like blows my mind every single
Yeah.
time.
Mhm.
He's just the standout. He's the star of that team for sure.
I also have Jim Josh as my number one, so I can agree more.
Yeah.
I mean, guy's got absurd stats. I mean, it's really all there is to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think this is one of the cases where like the record of the team and then the stats to follow it up kind of just speaks for itself a little bit, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of people would agree. I will say though, there is like a really close race, I think, in prospect near the top of, arguably even the top five. I think you can move people around. Um,
Yeah.
you know, on our list, Paco and I kind of did them together, and we have some disagreements, like mainly in a different tier. But at number two, we went with Hushu. Uh, like I said, another great player, great stats. It's just really
This
hard
one,
to.
sorry, this one, I might be a little biased towards. I had him super high preseason rankings. Uh, so I mean, I don't know. I just have seen so many clips, and also, like in super early in the season, had like just an absurd like 50 kill game or like just something absolutely ridiculous. Granted, it went into like 6 overtimes, but
Yeah.
still, I mean, like I don't know. I just think he's really good. I think he could easily play in prospect or in apprentice. Like if the team wanted to move him up as a duelist, I think he's really good. So I think he's got a lot of potential, and so I tried to argue my case with Jordan about putting him at number two, and I think I won that argument.
No, I don't disagree though. I mean, I think the lowest I could ever put Hoosh is probably like three, if that. I mean, like I said, we were pretty high on him early in the season. It's cool to see that the people that we predicted are performing. I'll be curious to see at the end of the year, comparing back from the beginning to the end, like how many we were on the mark for and how many we were off, and
Yeah,
in
that
the
is
later
true.
podcast. So, Rafa, what are your thoughts on number two?
Ooh, for my number two, I got Axe. I got my dog there. In IGL that can frag, that can basically play most roles. Like that's really hard to find in a prospect player. To
That's
be
true.
honest with you, like a lot of
In any
prospect
tier.
players are literally, yeah, most tiers actually. You know, a lot of people like to specialize in certain roles. Not this guy. This guy, you ask him to play anything, do anything, he'll be down for it. And I love his winning attitude. He just like cares about it so much. And honestly, like he's probably like the most W teammate you could probably have. He'll do anything to win. I respect it.
No, respect
I respect
there.
that too.
What's number three looking like for you?
For number three, I got Omaha. Cause honestly, like, dude, duelist to duelist,
Omaha, Omaha.
like
Blue 80, blue 80.
Duelist to duelist, that guy scares me, man. Like, he's just like he's just on a different level, especially with that L7 team. They've just been on the rise, and like
Yeah.
I think they're one of the teams that they're really close with Shaw that can really give them a run for their money, and he's usually there to lead the charge. So
I
that's
respect
my
that.
theory.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of players on that L7 roster that you could make an argument for in like top five, top tens. I mean it's just a solid roster. I mean, I think they just ended up squeaking out of number one seed, which
Mhm.
honestly is probably a good thing because
They've had a lot
L7
of
and
success
one
there.
seeds equals not making it into the grand finals. Like it's just how it goes. But
Yeah.
so tactical loss to avoid the one seed there, so that they can actually win the first round of playoffs. So
Curves and
um,
Lila are adapting. They've come to learn.
yeah.
So
So,
shout out Curves and Lila.
but yeah, no, I think that's a valid pick. We have Thor Nilly. So I if I recall correctly, Thornilly has been on the pod before, winning OS last season, or a winning prospect on OS last season. We did not. We will not, unfortunately, see OS in the playoffs this season. But it's an odd number, so I mean, it just
makes sense.
they don't make playoffs in odd numbers, or you know what I mean. So, but yeah, I mean, Thornilly's just been different. I mean, they were on a championship roster, tried to carry it over to the following season, go back to back, couldn't quite do it. But I mean, they got crazy stats, and I think they're still a really, really strong player in the prospect tier.
And kind of building off of that, I think that this is a really weird season because I don't know in the history, I don't know the exact history, but I don't know if there's ever been a year where there's potential that OS might not make playoffs in any tier that they're in, which
Wow,
is
well, yeah, that actually is
because Prospect they're already
true.
out, Mythic they're out, and Expert they're out. So Apprentice is their only hope at the time of recording this, and they're technically
Yeah.
out right now. I think they're like what, eighth or something along those lines right now. So they're not. They're pretty. It's a
Yeah,
very
8th or
close
7th,
battle
yeah.
in Apprentice. They're only one game out of playoffs right now from the 5th and 6th seed. So could seem
Speaking
squeaky
of that
there, but
too, I think this might be the first season in Prospect that both LG and OS aren't going to make playoffs.
mm-hmm.
So that's also crazy. There's a first for everything. Season 7 is the first for a lot of people.
Yeah, no, it definitely surprised me a little bit, I will say, but LG's kind of doing what LG does though, and while they're not winning in prospect, they have three teams that are well into playoffs or locked into playoffs
Yeah.
almost at this point in the other tiers. So, I mean, 75% rate is pretty darn good. But yeah, I mean, yeah, Thornilly, great player, on a really one of the best rosters probably ever in VDC history per tier with that OS team. Had two really dominant OS teams that season, and I think they all broke records. I think for their tier almost potentially or close to it. But yeah, sad to see. But Thornilly, hopefully this gives you a little bit of spark back from the season that ensued. But your performance is solid, so.
Who's your number 4?
I
Or
was
wait. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah.
for 4, I got Thornley as well. Honestly, I've heard a lot about them. They seem like a really solid player. I've only ever got to watch a few games, to be honest with you. And it kind of sucks not being able to see this OS team be in playoffs. But
Yeah.
from what I've heard, they're a really solid player. They're a really, really good teammate too. Honestly, sometimes it's just one of those seasons, you got to bounce back for the next one. Once you know how to win one time, you know how to win them the next time. So they'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
like
then,
that. I like that motto.
and then not to beat a dead horse, but we put Axe at 4. But we're kind of on the same page. I think any of these people could arguably at any given day rotate throughout this list. So, Axe, great season, and I look forward to seeing more out of you. I think we'll probably be seeing you in Apprentice tier next year, I'd assume. So it'll be cool to see you develop.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of. I mean, like you could easily argue that there's a decent amount of players in Prospect that could get moved up
Definitely.
to Apprentice next season. So,
Yeah.
or I guess theoretically this season, but I guess
Mm-hmm.
that now that rosters are locked for playoffs, maybe not. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is crazy. But to wrap it up for our number 5 or our list, I have LU Kronos, another L7 player. There's a lot of players on this roster that are insane. I was running through some of the like prospect stats before writing this list down. And their 5 rostered players all are averaging above a 220 ACS, which is crazy. Because usually, I mean, there's at least one person who's gonna maybe like 185, like, just not or like kind of being carried a little bit. Like there's just not a single person on that team that is playing poorly. So I mean, there are a lot of options to choose from. I ended up going with Kronos, um, stellar player, and I mean they're like top two roster in the prospect tier. So I mean, I guess it only makes sense. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Rafa, who did you have at your 5 spot?
I had Hushu. Honestly, it's similar to Omaha. He kind of actually reminds me of myself, low key. Back when I first started, like 5v5 comp. Has really high potential, really high ceiling. Honestly, I've seen his jet. He's kind of scary with it. Uh, he had a really big like explosion in the beginning of the season. I haven't kept up with him too much, but I've heard that he's doing pretty well for himself, and especially locking in a playoff spot with a KC team that's a little up and down right now. But like they're a solid contender still. I think it was hard not to put him here, to be honest. Like he deserves a spot in the top 5 for sure.
No, for sure. And now we're on to I think one of arguably the people's tier, kind of the more popular tier, I think, of the league, probably, generally speaking. I think it kind of leaked into expert a little bit this year with all these apprentice players that got moved up.
Promos. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of personality in both of these next two tiers. But an apprentice, let's start at the bottom here. Let's work our way up and let's make the
Okay.
person sweat at number one here.
That makes more sense. I feel like we should have
hmm
done that the
I was
first time.
thinking about
I
that, and
love
then I,
that.
I realized we ripped number one, and I was like, fair enough. But we'll make you guys wait now. So, Rafa, who's your fifth best player in the tier this season?
Ooh, I got auxiliary. Like go. Honestly, like that MF team on it, like just speaking very bluntly as a competitive player and as someone who's played against them, I was not very high on them. Like to be honest with you, I saw them as like a dark horse team, but honestly, this kid has surpassed every expectation I've had so far, and I respect him more as like a player, and he's a really nice guy too. Getting to know him too, uh, them making the roster changes they needed to as well, and now they're like in really close contention for a playoff run too, which is crazy
hmm
because I'm pretty sure there's like a weird like 4 team tie or something like that. I don't know. It could be more. I don't
It's
know,
very
but
competitive in
I'm high.
Apprentice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the
Yeah.
1-1 fest here lately. It's been like two straight match days of 1-1s, I think. So I'll be
Yeah.
really interested to see if who makes playoffs and then, who can carry that momentum into the playoffs and uh, you know, see who comes on top. I wouldn't surprise me if we see like a number one seed get knocked out early or a number two seed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I
I
said,
mean,
it's competitive.
yeah, last season it was the same way. I mean, we
hmm
technically finished last, but I mean, we weren't officially out of playoffs until like the last match day, maybe the second last. Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there it seems to be a recurring theme where,
hmm
like fighting for that 6 seed is like everyone, like the bottom 5 players, you know what I mean? Or teams, I mean. Um
Yeah.
but but no, I agree. X is incredible
hmm
player. I really thought at the start of the season it was going to be like MF was just going to be X and friends, and I mean the rest of their team is really shaping out. They got
hmm
some good pickups with like Whale, um, Cairo or Cryo. Uh, Cryo's been doing actually really well this season as well. So I mean, they're definitely coming around, and I mean, I think they're all enabled by Auxiliary's level of play. I think he's really good. I think
hmm
he's easily the best player on that team, and I mean, you could easily make an argument for top 5.
Yeah, I think watching just because of the disconnection server issue that we experienced in Expert, I got to watch the Apprentice match, and I will say I was really impressed with MF from the start of the season until now. Like they've grown a lot together, they've stuck together, and I mean, Wales' leadership, the vibes that Cryo brings to the table, X's util, and this is ability to get kills, and I could just go down the list and kind of give like positive about all those players on that roster. So, it's cool to see their development throughout the season as a team. And, it's really about who gets hot at the right time, so that's a scary thing, knowing that they are kind of hitting on all cylinders a little bit. So, and they're fighting for that last spot. So, but, on our number 5, fitting for the guest, we got Rafa in there. Um, Rafa, great graphic designer, but a great Valorant player too. Got a lot of talent. Really high ceiling on Rafa. Can drop in the 30s on you if you take stupid fights
Unfortunately.
against him. And like I said, really kind of is like the keystone of that Mox team. I think it rides a lot on Rafa's performance, and he's been delivering performances, and it seems like the team's starting to shape up a little bit from the start of the season. Had a rough start, stuck together, and made a roster change, and now you guys are sitting in a really good spot in playoffs. I just still shocks me that somebody with Tibbers on his team can just make it into playoffs. It's just crazy to me.
I will say
But
I did not have Rafa in my top 5, or I would say like relatively close to top 5 starting like maybe a week and a half ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. And then we had a match day against Mox, and map 1 he proceeded to absolutely annihilate my team. Like literally it was like 26-9. I was flabbergasted. I was at a loss for words. I was like, bro, like I did not know you were him, bro. Like I literally messaged him in game. Was like, dude, chill the fuck out. Like, what is going on? But
yeah, once
yeah, no,
Rafa gets confident,
it
man,
was
he's
crazy.
dangerous.
Yeah,
It's
so
all about confidence for him. If he's feeling confident and feeling good, then like I don't think that there's really anyone that maybe can win a 1v1 against him in Prentice tier. I think like his ceiling's that high if he's on it. I mean,
uh, I could probably take
I'll
him.
No, I have no idea. That Paco was the only one killing me that day too. It was insane.
I mean, Paco's
I was
aim, I will
like,
say, he has
dude,
worked hard
he's
on his
insane.
aim, and like people used to just think that he was just a util player and just like an assist demon. And I
Yeah,
mean,
he
now
kind of
you've
is.
got you've got like what, like 400 kills and 300 assists or something like that this season,
Oh, really?
or 200. You're pretty close, yeah. I mean,
Let's see.
like I said, I arguably,
Oh,
bias would
damn.
would put one of my players on this list. I think Paco could slot in this list at some point too. Um, But yeah, no, kind of going on to. Oh, I forgot to mention before this list even started. At number 7, we have VK.
Oh,
Just
right.
because
Yeah,
we have to do that.
yeah.
There's just no other spot for that guy. Even if he
Hmm,
has
hmm.
700 kills and everyone else has 400, the dude's got to be number 7.
Yeah.
But going on to number 4 now. We drag. Um, I arguably this is where my list kind of takes a detour from Paco's. Paco has drag at number 4. Personally, I have drag at number 3. So that's where our list differs a little bit. And number 4 for me, I personally put Auxiliary in at number 4. I mean, after that match, like I was already pretty high on X from last season and his performances, and then I watched him play against our PA team, and I think he literally was the X factor that made that 1-1
Yeah.
happen. Really close matches. No hate to anybody else on MF. I think your team's really solid, and you have a lot of great people on that roster that I like a lot. So overall, it was good team play. But X, I think, was that X factor. No pun intended. Um, that kind of set the tone for it, and made some big plays for him, along with Whale. Whale made some big plays in that game too. So yeah, for number
Yeah.
4, I've got X. Number 3, I've got Drag. Dan, take
Yeah.
it away for number 4.
Yeah. So I'll say what my 4 and 3 are. So for my 4, I have Drag, like you said, and then my 3, I have Kid from Akron. Stats wise, you could easily make an argument Kid from Akron's like 1 or 2. Now this could just be me,
I think it
but
is.
I just don't feel like they're like I just don't feel it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's literally nothing else I could like. There's nothing else I can. No other way for me to describe it. Like I just don't feel like he deserves more than number 3. And maybe it's the fact that right now they're not in playoff contention. I mean, they can still make playoffs, but they're not in like top 6. Like I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just not speaking to me higher than 3. Drag I have it 4. I mean, Drag's just pretty solid. I mean, she is peak ascendant. I will, it's controversial to some. I don't think it's that big of a deal when we're in the server, you know what I mean? But I totally understand why. But I mean, she's just solid. That high tide roster is number 1 in the tier for a reason. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, some could argue it's because of other players, but I mean, she definitely plays a big factor in it. So that's where I'm
Yeah.
sitting at. I
I mean,
mean,
I
she
watched
easily has the capability to take over a game. You know what I
I
mean?
watched the OS High Tide reschedule right before Teo became available, and I saw Drag just like dismantle OS like single-handedly,
Yeah.
like map 1. It was impressive. I mean, Drag has been a solid performer through since I've been here, honestly, in VDC in season 5 on onward. Drag's performed fantastic, and Drag just continues to perform at a really, really high level. So, what are your 3 and 4 looking like, Rafa?
For 4, I gotta give a shout to my dog in the big 3, VK. Okay, because honestly, it's insane that he is putting up LeBron numbers while still keeping his team pretty close in playoff contention too. Very similar to another player that Parker just mentioned, except impact matters. And I feel like VK has a lot of it. So honestly, it would be pretty disrespectful of me not to put him there. And also, he did diff me, so I gotta give it to him.
It
Uh,
happens.
yeah, my 3, I got Papa Tweak. I just played this guy, and every time, dude, insane headache every time. Like I don't know how this guy just locks down the site every time. He's insane. Like I get terrified of like match up with this guy every time. That he he is like one of the strongest pillars on that L7 team, and I got to give him his flowers. Honestly, that
I
guy's
respect that.
insane. That guy's insane.
I think that's
Yeah.
totally fair. I mean, I remember. I mean, we've only played L7 once. I think you have played him twice now, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, dude, we got demolished by L7. Now I think about it, but I mean, Papa Tweak definitely was one of the reasons.
Mm-hmm.
That I tried to delete that out of my memory though, so maybe that's why I just don't even have him in my top 5. But sorry, spoiler alert.
No, that's fair. I think I deleted it out of my memory too from management side. So.
Yeah.
I can't. I gotta like. I remember the first time it was really close. I think it was a 2-0 on them, but both maps felt really close, or at least one of them did. And dude, that guy was just a demon. Like I'm traumatized. Let's just say I'm actually traumatized.
We got a dog appearance in the background for everyone that wants to see a Paco dog.
Doge.
Um,
Yeah.
so, with that being said, this is hold on. We're getting somebody phoning in from the crowd here. And with the shocking turn of events, VK is actually teleported from number 7 to number 2 on the
Oh.
Paco Bremy semi together list. Um, So, VK, like I said, I've been watching some of your streams and stuff whenever I've gotten the ability to with reschedules or things of that nature. And you've really kept that team in. I thought that KC was doomed, honestly. And you kind of kicked it into like another gear that not a lot of players have. You've been in playoffs many times. You've won a grand final. You know what it takes. And I think you've put yourself in a really good spot to, put some pressure on the teams that are kind of near the border of playoffs or not that are in. And it wouldn't surprise me if I do see KC squeak into one of those bottom spots there at all, just because he just has that it factor to get the job done. So
I think the it factor, the X factor, whatever you want to call it, is a good way to put it. Yeah, he can just take over a game. I originally didn't have a number 2, but I mean, he's just a demon at times, bro. Like, probably the best player ever when he has like 1-2 bullets maybe in his Vandal and he has Jet Dash primed. Like, guy is fucking insane when those conditions are met.
There's a headshot and a dash going. Yeah,
So
the VK special. Whose house is it? VK's.
right.
Rafa,
Who you got?
what's number 2 looking like?
Oh man, I don't want to give it to him, but I have to. Thanos, Yin, the Mr. Durango 95 himself. You know, this might be a lot of glaze, and he's gonna yell at me later, but honestly, he deserves it. He's I think out of everyone I've played so far, he's given me the most trouble in a 1v1. Because honestly, dude, we had to anti-strat the hell out of them to win that match. I'm not gonna lie to you. Knowing what they wanted and knowing what they want or what they were trying to set him up for, like we're calling it like the Yin rules, like like the Jordan rules. Like that's how like impactful he is. That's what I mean. He's very similar to VK in that instance where that team live and dies by him. And yes, they have a lot of powerful pieces, but like Yin is that core. And he's shooting for that MVP performance again, and I gotta give it to him. He still hasn't beaten me, but I gotta give it to him.
I would also have Yin in my top 5, but because it was a collab list, we made some compromises. But I mean, Yin is, former teammate of ours. I think he's gotten significantly better from last season to this season. And I mean, he still was absolutely fragging last season. So I mean, I think I may have took advantage of, or like, I didn't understand the extent of his prowess, his aura in a game until I started playing against him, and I was like, wait, like that is insane. Like, cause there'd be some times where he would just get like a random ass ace, on Sunset playing Neon or something last season, and it was like, damn, like nice, like that's huge. And then you're on the other team, and he just whips out a random ace, and you're like, dude, how did he just do that? Like it's like night and day, where it's like, oh yeah, that was pretty cool, nice, good job, and it's like, dude, what the fuck, like. Why are we getting shit on? So,
would you say it's like yin and yang?
Yeah, I think it's a great way to put it.
No,
but
yeah, going into number 1, I think it's a unanimous thing here, and I don't know if a lot of people would disagree with our kind of number 1 spot here. Rafa, go ahead and let the viewers know. If you couldn't guess already now, I think you probably can based on the list, but.
I mean, man, dude, again, I don't want to give it to him. Honestly, it's as a competitor, it's really annoying. But honestly, one of the best players in the tier, actually the best player in the tier by far, Slater on HT Crest. Like that guy is insane. Like I'm still mad. I'm still mad about that 2-0 Slater. I hope you know that. If I play you in playoffs, bro, I'm not losing a second time. That's all I'm letting you know. But you're insane, man. Rank thing aside or whatever, it's fun playing against him, and because you got to worry about him. You just have to.
Yeah,
my issue with Slater. Oh, you go.
Oh, the Discord gets us every now and again. Sorry. I will say it's interesting to see how powerful the role of Sentinel has been in the last like 2 or 3 seasons now of Apprentice tier. And it seems like there's like multiple instances where there's multiple Senties on a list. It just kind of shows you the impact that has on a role on the game just as a whole scope with like being able to get lurk timings and value out of that, and then also just totally eliminating a site from a map on a 2-site map. That's huge.
Yeah.
With the ability the team can't hit one of those sites, and you can kind of play off of that. And like I said, last year we had Drisk MVP, Slater putting up pretty remarkable numbers, and
Yeah.
rank aside is also similar to Drisk, ascendant player in apprentice tier. Draw the correlation there, but yeah, no, that aside, he's dominating. So
Yeah. I think I said issue, like that's not the right term that I wanted to use, but like the thing about Slater is like if Aki or Drag aren't performing, like that's fine because Slater is the most consistent player in the tier. Like he is, I'd say almost every single map top two. Uh, like in the like between both teams, like it's insane. Um, like I don't know if Drag isn't playing well, if Aki isn't playing well, or like it just makes that team so much different, or like so much better because if you know that Slater's always going to pop off and Drag or Aki or Eagle Squirrel or um who's the other one?
Mustard Corpse.
Oh
Mustard.
yeah, Mustard Core. Like if any of those players also have a game, like you have two players that are just absolutely brickhousing everyone on the other team. You know what I mean? Because you know Slater is going to, and like you said, Jordan, with like the Sentinels and Lurks and everything, like it's just so frustrating because sometimes you think you have the timing and then you just don't, and you get absolutely destroyed from the behind, and it's like I was watching that for an hour and now you peek me, like what's going on,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Slater reminds me a lot of like myself when I was an apprentice with
Yeah,
like the
I agree.
timings and the patience and things like that. I think he's a little bit. I think one thing that kind of does punish him a little bit is he can be too impatient sometimes. Like I think he tries to make stuff happen. Sometimes it works. It can be like a double-edged sword, but so far I think he's kind of found a balance of finding timings. But I will be curious to see, come playoff time when people are seeing him for the third game, if they'll be able to make some adjustments to mitigate some of the offensive impact that he has, just because it's hard to be able to lurk across 6, potentially 7 maps in one season against a team that's probably pretty decent, being a expert or apprentice is
Right.
so top to bottom just close right now that I think it'll be interesting to see if teams are able to make adjustments or if he just continues his reign. So, going on to expert tier. Um, At number 5, we have Gabers. I think Gabers has made humongous impact on PN. They started very slow. He does a lot for this team. That team's got a lot of really talented shooters, but I think Gabers just sticks out to me the most as a competitor in that tier. His impact can be felt widely on the map, and I think he's deserving of a top 5 spot.
I have no comments on this list because this was all Jordo's list. I don't know enough.
What is your thoughts on number 5, Rafa?
I got Tresente on number 5 for me. He's kind of like a dark horse pick for me personally, just because that Cha team's been a little like inconsistent, to say the least.
I
Because
feel like
honestly, like
I'd argue that
he's
they've been
kind of
really consistent because they're literally 50% round win percentage and exactly even win loss.
that's
I feel like
fair.
that's
I mean,
the
for
I feel
for
like that's
what
the
for
definition of consistent.
fair. I mean, for the expectation I had for that team specifically, I think it was a
Yeah.
little inconsistent, but like statistically, yeah, they're pretty consistent. I mean, that's a
Hmm.
common theme within Cha in most tiers, except Prospect, I'm pretty sure, and Mythic.
No, that's fair.
Um, but Tresente's just kind of been again the literal definition of consistency as well. Like he's kind of been that one guy that holds it down for them whenever someone on the team is just not having a good day. You can count on him to be there for you, and he'll hold it down. So
That's fair.
that's why I got Trisente number 5.
Yeah, I mean, I could argue Trisente could work up my list pretty close to top 5. I don't think any of these people I would swap out for, but I will say Trisente is definitely a scary player, especially when he's feeling himself. So, um, but yeah, going on to number 4, I put Landon on the list. I arguably think Landon should probably be a mythic player. I think he's immensely talented, a great player, really kind of one of the two pieces of glue that holds this KC roster together, in that tier, and deserving of a 4 spot, I think. Rafa, any thoughts
For Landon,
for
uh,
your for your 4 spot? Not necessarily Landon.
okay, for my 4 spot, I got my homie Ray. Honestly, that guy, I
My
love
homie
him.
too.
Really, really amazing guy to be around. Really funny too. Like when he joined that PA roster, I was a little nervous. I can't lie, because I was wondering, like, as you know, it was my first season of VDC. I haven't really watched him play, but I've heard really good things about him, and he was able to turn you guys around, really help you guys out, and really figure out like the structure within your guys' team. Like, and he sounds like he has a really big voice in the team too. Like he's not really scared to say what he needs to say and kind of take charge too. And you kind of need that from like your superstar duelist, because you need to know how to set them up for success, and he knows what he wants. So, W Ray.
Yeah, no,
W Ray.
kind of speaking of Ray himself, I have Ray at number 3. I think I would argue to put you higher as far as impact for your team. I think you might be like one of the more valuable players in the entire tier as far as what you mean to a roster, and as far as like what your impact kind of does for the team. I think on my roster, like your addition, like we started out a little rough. We made some changes as far as like our comps and just kind of play structure, growing as an IGL myself, and like how the team wants to play, and trying just to set Ray up. I think it's made a huge impact on our roster, taking some pressure off of Jag and Vibes to be top performers, and they can, I think they can play a little bit more freely now, which I think's helped them out a lot as well. Having kind of that firepower with Ray, so just because of the games played, I put Ray a little lower, but in my heart, Ray, you're always my number 1. So what do you have for number 3? It looks like some bias coming in here, I think.
No, honestly, I got my GM in here. I got Lee. Honestly, Lee's been the definition of someone who's really just down to win. If you've talked to the guy, you know what kind of attitude he brings into a team and what kind of culture he wants to bring in. And I think he shows that with the team that he drafted, especially like a team that, has had a pretty bumpy season, really strong start, but, had some bumps in a row, and they have not made a roster change. That's how much they believe in each other, and like, because they all want to win that badly. And I think Lee is kind of the pillar stone of that team. Whether he wants to be the superstar duelist that day or, wants to be the initiator. I don't know. Like, he just like kind of remind me of Paper X, because they're just like changed the comps last second, and they're like, we'll just run this for today, But don't cut me, please. You know,
Yeah,
yeah, Lee's my goat.
it's such. No, I love Lee. Shout out Lee.
Yeah, dude.
Awesome,
Lee on the pod
awesome
too
human.
was so much fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, dude. Valorant aside, I'll always think of Lee as like a awesome person, and fun to play with, fun to hang out with. So, I just think that Mox team is so interesting. I mean, I don't think that they have any top 5 players in my opinion in the list, but like it works. I mean, I think at the beginning of the season I called them the Island of Misfit Toys. Like it doesn't make sense, but it works. Like they just have a good time. They show up, they play, they have a good time, they have a lot of fun together, and they just kind of have like that in sports terms, like the locker room vibe is just so good, and it just kind of carries out into their play, and you can kind of see that. I mean, with their success that they've found throughout the entire year. Yeah, there's been some bumps, maybe some mental issues as far as in-game performance goes. But they've overcame those, and like I said, I had them actually finishing first in our preseason. So I'm glad that they figured it out and found a way to stay in playoffs, so I don't look like a total idiot. When the end of the year comes around. But kind of moving on to number 2 on my list. Uh, Roth and I both have people from the same team, but I chose to go with Skeptic. I think Skeptic's impact in all the LG teams he's been a part of have been just huge, and I think it's just another use case here. I think Skeptic's performance has been almost, in my opinion, one of the best in the entire season throughout any player. But yeah, I mean, great impact for the team. Scary player when you find yourself in a 1v1 where you have to take an aim duel to get out of the situation you're in, like especially from like a lower MMR player myself. Just so everyone's clear though, I fear nobody. I'll take on Tyzera in a 1v1. But I won't win, but I won't be scared to take it. But like just from like the pulse of the league, I think Skeptic's definitely one of those people that if you find yourself in a 1v1, you've probably got a lower percent chance than you do of winning it than you do of losing it than you do of winning it. So.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember Uklar back when me and Paco were on LG together was talking about I forget what season that was. I want to say it's like season 4 prospect or apprentice or something, but it was maybe one of the greatest rosters of all time. And Skeptic basically would go in with this other player, I forget their name, and would just go and absolutely farm, and Uklar would just be along for the ride, and he was telling us about it. And they broke quite a few records, but I think OS Apprentice might have broken that record last year that they had set originally.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rafa, what who do you have at number 2 spot?
For number 2, I also have an LG player. I got Eon. Honestly,
My boy.
amazing support player. Like he has a really big personality from the few times I've talked to him too. Like he's pretty chill guy to be around. Sounds like he really knows what he wants in Valorant and kind of knows what he looks for in his team specifically. I watched them play against Mox recently. Like I think it was yesterday actually. Dude, I don't know if it's him calling, but like they were
Uklar.
running so dude, I don't know, but like they're running like triple fakes. Like and he's like on the front
LG,
of that.
that's just LG and Uklar style right there, man. It's
Yeah,
slow
yeah,
Dude,
and
I
like
love it.
coordinated.
that looks so annoying. And dude, that Eon's just in the front of it with Skeptic Cheese at too. And honestly, either one it would have been a solid choice for me personally. But that kid's
Yeah.
nuts.
Yeah,
Eon is nuts.
I will say, and the Paco can probably speak to this too. Like we're both pretty good friends with Eon. We played last season with him and his first season, and really cool guy. But it's pretty cool to see like how much better he's gotten at the game. Because if he was this damn good last year, then we would have been in playoffs. So Eon, what the hell, man? That's all I gotta say. But
Holy shit.
going on to number 1, I think
Another unanimous.
this is another unanimous thing here. We're seeing a trend here, and I'll die on this hill that KC, if you remove Kurumi from the start of the year, I don't think they're a playoff team. Depending on who you have in that team, obviously you couldn't tell. Like, there's a lot of MMR to work with there, obviously, so they might be a playoff team. But I think that Kurumi's impact is just felt. I mean, Kurumi leaves the team for a little bit, goes and scrims and starts playing on other teams as an FA. Those teams are winning. People are getting pissed because they have to play against Kurumi multiple times. I think OS played against Kurumi 3 straight match days.
That's crazy.
And got knocked out of playoffs by Kurumi after they already beat OS multiple times. I just remember seeing it in the chat from Hazard. Like, I got to play you again, man. Kurumi gets dropped from KC because of scheduling conflicts. Now KC starts to struggle without Kurumi. What's the answer here? Move somebody to IR, get Kurumi back. I think KC will continue to be a solid team with Kurumi.
Yeah.
If Kurumi's finding their entries and getting those like initial picks for him. So Yeah.
I'm also a big fan of Kurumi because I drafted them on my VDC fantasy league, which, hey, by the way, do VDC fantasy, but yeah,
Hmm.
Kurumi, I need Kurumi to always be popping off.
Valid.
Yeah, no.
That's valid.
I don't even know. I haven't checked, but I don't even know if like I'm on anybody's roster.
Uh, in our league, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I was playing an off roll in IGLing, so
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that the stats are a little bit scuffed because I dropped 27 and somehow got 5 points and top fragged and match MVP'd. So, Andy, I
Damn.
think you got to stop boosting the duelist stats so hard here. I think you got to be able to normalize it a little
Yeah.
bit better because I think Sentinels get
Yeah,
robbed.
Andy.
Yeah, but it is pretty cool though. I will say we had an interview with Tyzera that never got published, but um, we did. Actually, I actually pitched this idea back in December, I think, where I mentioned that I would really like to see VDC Fantasy. I think it'd be a really cool idea.
I'll play
And
the
then all of a
clip like
sudden,
right now.
we signed that the stats guy, Andy does really great work for the league, one of my numbers compadres, and yeah, here we are. We got VDC
Hmm.
Fantasy, and it's from the person I'd expect to do it. So great work, Andy. It's a lot of fun. I do like looking at it, all jokes aside about my bad performances this entire year. Um, I think it's a really cool system, and I look forward to kind of seeing how the VDC can kind of help push it a little bit better, so that we can start to see cool updates and kind of. I thought it'd be cool to see eventually get off of a spreadsheet and kind of more onto like on the tech side where maybe they'll push it more. So it'd be kind of cool to see
Yeah,
that development go into it. But you never know. There's a lot of projects ongoing, so it could be a bit tough for it to happen in the near future. But
a lot of projects. Yes.
yeah. And Tech's got their hands full, so you know we'll see how it goes. But kind of rolling in to the last bit here, we've got Mythic. Rafa doesn't appear to have a list. I don't think Rafa really knows many Mythic players. I don't think Mox even has a team in Mythic. So,
Oh
understandably
yeah.
so. You do know your tiers, though, where Mox is. We appreciated your support through the first
I
three.
mean,
But
if you have any comments though on our list, absolutely by all
yeah,
means chime in.
yep.
Oh hell yeah.
Let us know if you think we're just totally wrong.
Bet.
But Dan, take
I'll,
her
I'll
away.
let you
What
take. No, you take number 5. You take number 5.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, number 5, we have Razora. I mean, I think in Mythic, there's just so many talented players this season, and obviously in Mythic just in general. I think there's a couple people that you can move up and down. I think the MVP vote will be really interesting to see. Obviously, no leaks from myself, um, but it will be very interested to see, who finishes. I think that there's a lot of people that you could put into this race that are just really impactful for their team. Razor has had great performances, consistent performer, and I think number 5 is a really fitting spot. You could argue that they could go higher too. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, this is a PA player, no?
hmm
Yeah. So I mean, they were basically. It was inevitable that they were going to be on the list because we're both
yeah,
PA. They're
I
PA.
believe
That's just how it goes.
I
No,
believe
I'm just kidding.
also that they have like they are playing tier 3 as well. So
Oh, really?
mhm.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I could be wrong. I don't do a lot with our mythic team. It's more of Combax's field of expertise, being that he's on that roster, and we kind of let him and Kimchi before Kimchi had to leave us. Shout out Kimchi. Was a lot of help with that mythic roster before we had to drop an AGM for the loss of team. So shout out
Shucks.
there. Shucks. But
uh,
but
Gene
but
Keys.
for
number 4, yeah. What do you think, Paco?
yeah, so for number 4, I got Gortizzy, AKX Go. Uh, they went MIA for a little bit in the server. Um, they won a championship back in like season 2 or 3, or maybe it was even 4. But won a championship long time ago. I believe it was with OS, and they honestly may have even come back to the league because we are automating sorry, we're automating accolades like if you win a championship, you get a crown or like a trophy next to your name and stuff like that. Well, I reached out to Gore Tizzy and was like, "Yo, I need you to sign up, and then I can take you off the list of signups. But I need you to sign up so we can generate a unique ID and give you the automated thing." And then I guess he just stayed. So shout out Gortizzi, but I mean he's played 8 match days and has already shown like incredible impact on the roster that he's on. So yeah, I mean I got him top 4. I think he's just a stellar player.
Yeah, and I will say it is worth noting too that Rizora was a PA player. Rizora is no longer a PA player. I can't remember if they're on IR or not, honestly. Like I said, I don't really even look at Mythic other than just like telling them nice job and if they need any help with sub stuff, if Combax or Pop's busy. But yeah, Rizora was
According
on
to
the
the
roster.
website, they're still on the
I
roster.
think
So
they're IR'd, I want to say.
okay, then that makes sense.
I really do, because we just picked up Stampy, and we just picked up oh man, I can't even think the guy's name right now.
It's okay. It's okay.
Jardongus. It was.
Jardongas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I could not think of it for the life of me. I just kept thinking Jardongus. Yeah,
Yeah.
we just picked up Jardongus. So, yeah, that's kind of the switch there. I think that kind of happened. Resort might still be on the roster though. I can't remember. There's been so many changes that have happened in the last 2 weeks
With multiple PA rosters.
that
Yeah.
my mind is just right now at the time
Yeah.
of recording this. I was up late last night working on some other stuff. So, um, but yeah, so kind of going to the third pick on our list. I think this person arguably could make a case for number 1. I think they're really, really solid. Sog has just performed for PN countless times. Almost, I would argue, kind of filled the last season's shoes of like Kenny, where they just have that person that's just a really solid performer, along the side of Chris as well. Those two together are just really dangerous. I mean, they have combined like over, I think 1,100 kills or something like that together, or pretty close to it. So really solid performer there in SOG, and deserving of a top 3 spot.
Yeah. So for number 2, maybe a little bit of a surprise, maybe not. I feel like it could very easily not be a surprise because number 1 I feel like should be kind of unanimous. But I have former MVP Electron from LG. Wait, is he still on LG? He should be. I might be wrong though, but
he is
yeah,
on Blue Lotus.
he's just different. Like I mean, there's just some people in certain tiers that are just a level above. I think he's one of them, and I mean, I don't think it goes much further than that. I mean, he's just a stellar player. There's a reason why he won MVP last season. It's just unfortunate that somebody new came into the league and is now, kind of considered my number 1 and a lot of people's number 1. So
yeah, this number 1 is just kind of that guy, honestly. I will say, you might get some slack for the overall record, but obviously at number 1 we have Tyzera. Tyzera has shown many times of why Tyzera is a spectacular player. Only played 18 games throughout the season, but in the games that he has played has just been insane. I mean, I saw him almost drop 40 one time on Mythic players, which was just nuts, and was just totally carrying the game. And somehow OS 2-0'd, I think, against my Mythic team, and I didn't expect OS to do that.
Yeah.
Shortly after the podcast, I think that we recorded with him that wasn't published, just kind of due to the time frame of busyness and whatnot going on. But yeah, no, Tyzera, great person, really chill dude, and just an insane player. And I think, hopefully we can get him to stay around. I know that he's interested in trying to maybe go play tier three, I think, at some point. So
Yeah.
hopefully we can keep him around VDC and keep players like that around. So,
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. But
but
but yeah, I mean that pretty much concludes the list. So if you made top 5, congrats. Uh, if you didn't, I'm sure there's an argument to be made that you could be top 5. Uh, but hey, good try. You'll get them next time. And Rafa, thank you for joining us for the segment as well. And yeah, I think without further ado, we have one more quick segment before we jump to an interview. And that is the return of the podcast picks, baby. Let's go.
dun dun dun.
All right, boys, it's Paco coming back from the dead in post editing. They're supposed to go out like last Wednesday, so the podcast pick that we had was like way wrong. So new podcast pick, drum roll please, boom, 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 is going to be head-to-head matchup. Who diffs who? Cryo versus Royal. It's a big game in Apprentice. This game is going to decide a lot for the playoff picture. So, what better to do a duelist versus duelist in the end? So, that is going to be the podcast pick for match day 17? No, yes, 17. So, good luck to all. I hope you guys win your picks. This is going to cut back and it's going to be talking about Justin and High Tide and everything because that's what we had last time. So I guess I will hand the mic over to Jordo and have fun with that.
I have my pick. I can't bet legally on it, but if I had a house and a mortgage, I would put it down on Justin.
That's what I'm saying. We're looking to
So-
4-0 HT this season. Come on.
So, shout out High Tide though. There's a lot of really cool people on there. I mean no harm.
Yeah.
And shout out Aki, shout out Drag, Slater. Actually, honestly, this is a good time to mention Slater. Slater, Paco and I were playing a death match, and you had all chat turned off, and we said hi to you 4 times. 4 times without a reply. What the heck's up with that, man?
L. That's
Straight
an
up.
L friend.
Yeah, I would say you're chill, but you're a great player, but I don't know if you're chill because you didn't say hi back. Maybe you're just that locked in. Maybe that's why you're so consistent. You're just that locked in. You just don't even care.
Don't even read it, but
but
yeah.
Paco, Rafa, thank you so much for joining us, giving us your time here on Super Bowl Sunday. Before we go, what's your guys' predictions for who's going to win the Super Bowl? Obviously, this will be published
Fly,
after.
Eagles, fly, baby.
Go Birds! Go
Go
Birds!
Go
Birds,
Birds.
baby! Go Birds,
Go
baby!
Dirty Birds.
Dirty Birds. We don't condone gambling, but shout out the Birds. But
Yeah. Got a lot of
yeah,
money
no.
riding on the Birds.
Yeah, but about $400 worth of bird money going around here.
Yep,
But
yep.
Rafa, shout out to you. If you'd like, we can put in any of your professional work or links to your professional work. If anyone's
Oh, yeah.
interested in working with Rafa, great graphic designer, great human, and just a chill guy. So if you want any of
Super
that or
cheap
want
too
links
for
to any of
like
your socials for your Twitch or anything like
yeah.
that, just we can throw them down there below. So if they're down there, please go give him some love and support. We're lucky to have somebody like him in VDC that does
Mhm.
work for free when it's at such a high level. So
Appreciate you
He
guys.
it's like super cheap too. It's only like a couple grand per emote, so it's like, dirt cheap. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just kidding.
If you
No,
2-0
but
me, it's gonna be bumped up a little bit, but if I 2-0 you, I'll give you a discount, like that's how it works.
that's
No, but
awesome. But yeah, no, incredible work. The work that's produced worth 2K, but
yeah, I
he's
mean,
just a homie. So
I mean, it's got nothing on my Microsoft Paint skills, but it's whatever.
That's true.
but
That's true. Jordo does clear me. Carrying. I can't say anything to him. Carrying me to a championship is definitely, something that not everyone could say they did. So fair enough.
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it was really weird to see Rafa in a backpack for once. Like, no, I'm just kidding. No, Rafa, I'm
That
just
was
playing
not
with you.
fun.
But
That was not fun.
Rafa rallied the troops for us. We had shout out some of the prospect players on that team too. It was a lot of fun there. So, but yeah, without further ado, we are going to hop into a interview, and we will jump there now, and Rafa will disappear now. VDC, welcome back after the jump cut. We are joined here. It feels like a what is the one thing that happens in the
Deja
desert?
vu.
Deja vu.
Oh.
No, but I was gonna say like a mirage or something because
Oh.
it feels like a deja vu. For you that don't know, we've actually recorded this 6 weeks ago, and now we're back here in the present time in February, re-recording a new segment due to just the busy schedule of the podcast. And so, um, kind of building off of like what we did in previous podcast iterations with the one of one series. Shout out Nade for the Substacks. On the podcast today, we have the mythic one of one, and some would say probably potentially the best player in the entire VDC, Tyzera. Tyzera, welcome back again to the
Thank
pod,
you.
the first published pod.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're just letting it stew. We're letting it cook, We had 6 weeks to refine it,
Yeah,
Gotta let
we
it
had to get it
boil.
perfect.
Exactly.
But yeah, how's it been? How was your first season in VDC? You have any thoughts about how the season went just as a whole?
Yeah, it was definitely a double-edged sword. I think on one hand, I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot. So on that hand, you got to be thankful. On the other hand, it is bittersweet in the sense that OS did crash out in last place, but I think at this point there's a lot of positives and a lot of negatives to look at there, and a lot of things that I wish I would have known going into the league that would have been valuable. But it's all learning experience. This is my first time, and it's definitely a tough showing, especially I think with that introduction as well. It's like there were a lot of expectations, and so it sucks to fall short
Yeah.
so much.
I felt that on a spiritual level.
Yeah. The real question is,
'Cause-
will we see Tyzera back again in season 8?
Yeah, I had a decision to make. I wasn't sure if some people I know would just cut face and run, But I had a good time. I had a good time at VDC. I played well. I think that individually, I have no doubt about my talents and where my spot is in VDC as one of the top players. But it was definitely a decision that I had to come to, whether I want to play next season with OS or whether I wanted to try. I mean, there was a world too where I was thinking, like, man, should I just try and see if I can get my contract cut and see if I can look for the playoffs and glory hunt a little bit? But it's like, I hate to call KD out like this, but I'm not trying to ring chase. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think with OS having a rough season across the board,
I think you should
it's
call it KD.
just start hot team up. But no, I want to get OS out of. I want to get him into playoffs at least. I mean, I want to win something with him, and I think that my team right now, with all the troubles we had, started spiking. And I mean, it's not the right time, obviously, because we're out. But we showed so much promise. We beat PN, we beat PA, we beat all these teams that were literally 1-2 in the league. And so I know for a fact we can do it. It was just a series of we have to go from the jump. There's not a lot of games.
Yeah.
And so, the players have to be there. That's on me. I didn't make the cut. I only played 18 of our 24 games or 24 matches. So that's on my back too. That's on my head. But yeah, of course I'm gonna be back, man. I loved it. It was great. It was great.
That's awesome.
Good to
That's
hear,
awesome.
man.
As an admin, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also as like as an AGM, it's cool to see good players sticking around, just because I'm sure that you could probably leave the league and go and probably play some level of tier 3 with your talents that you have. So it's cool to see that we can retain good players and kind of keep
Yeah.
building the talent level in Mythic and just in the league in general. It's always cool to see.
100%.
Yeah.
I look at this offseason as an opportunity for that. Exactly that. Let's hit some tier 3 tournaments. Let's warm up for next season to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Hell yeah. Hell
Yeah.
yeah, man.
I'm putting all my
Well,
Gamma dollars on OS Mythic
right.
for Tyzera to make playoffs for OS Mythic.
Most improved team.
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly what
yeah.
we're aiming for.
But yeah, so I know combines were quite a while ago. But I mean, you can't
4 months.
talk to the number 1 overall pick without talking about the combines and how they got there. So going all the way back to those combines, what do you think allowed you to stand apart from the rest of the competition? And then how do you think that transcended or translated into the regular season?
That's a great question. I think that it was a combination kind of strategy when it came to combines. It helped that no one really knew anybody. And I'm already a very vocal person. So when it came to the combines, I was definitely someone that was talking a lot in those games. And I'm playing the duelist, and I'm confident in my own abilities. I think I was also coming in as one of the highest just ranked players in terms of solo duo queue in there. So I felt confident going in. I knew what I wanted, and it's like even if I walked into those combines and got like just dog walked, I knew I would have been okay because I was taking the league as a learning experience. So a little part of me was hoping for that. I was hoping that hey, maybe I get sat down. There's something I can learn. I can improve as a player. But I think it's a whole different challenge when you're the best. Now it's how do I find a way to win this game? How do I find a way to actually translate these kills into a lead, into a sustainable way of winning? And I think that's kind of where it fluttered apart. Whereas combines is very much individual stats. Look how good I'm
Right.
doing on this team, that team. I know how to do well when a team's losing. I know how to do well when a team's winning. I know that when you're having an off game, you have to change the way you play. So that eliminates the need for ever having an off game, right?
Right.
And in combines, it's the perfect measure. It's the perfect competition to measure that, right? Versus when you get into the season in the league, then it's about winning. Now it's not about you as an individual. It's about you as a team. How can I help sometimes the weakest link on a team? How can I play for them more? How can I set them up? How can I have them set me up for success? And that was something that we just kind of handled a little too late into our season. But I think that was a big part of it, just being vocal, trying to realize what my goal was as soon as I came into VDC. And then I think there's also an aspect of it too where I was marketing myself in that DE chat. I think a lot of people were excited just because, again, a lot of people don't talk in DE chat. A couple people, it's a lot of GMs or AGMs asking people to, hey, DM us this information, DM us this information. Yeah, which of course I did. I DM'd every GM at the beginning of the season, and I was just vocal. I made lots of posts in there. I made sure people were seeing my name. Yeah, and I played well. I think it's that simple. I think if you play the game, you don't even have to play well. There was a couple players in there that I did the pieces on. I did 5 articles about why certain players I thought deserved to be looked at. There's a few players in there that I behind the scenes
content, by the way.
Thank you. There's a people behind the scenes I was trying to get signed for different teams that were teamless because I knew they were good from the combines because I knew they were good from the way they were calming. So I tried to do a lot to help the other DEs and the other people in the league that were FAs and RFAs this season find spots on a team. Not all of them were able to, but a lot of them were. And so it was a really cool situation watching the combines, and that was still my favorite part of VDC so far was just
That's
the
awesome.
way the combines led into the season. It's amazing. I'm super excited for this next batch of DEs too.
Yeah, I think you bring up a really good point in that what you like that response. Like there's a level of what is the word like maybe like humbleness or like just mindfulness is probably the right way the right word I'm looking for, but like you got to be mindful like you know there's a level of pride that you may need to like push aside and like for example like I know I could win 60% of my 50-50s, for example, like this is just an arbitrary number, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, maybe I can do that, which is great, and that separates me from everybody else. But in a team, if I need to be alive, I can't be taking a 50-50, or I guess a 60-40, just because, like, you know, if I just win my 50-50s that much,
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, because if that 40% chance happens, then I'm losing 40% of the rounds for my team if I need to be alive for it. And like, again, this is all hypothetical. I'm not saying I'm the fucking GOAT.
No,
I
I
am,
get
but you know
exactly
what
what
I'm
you're
saying?
saying,
Like,
though.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
right.
Nah, screw that. Paco's the GOAT.
Swing again. No, but you're right. There's a fine line that you have to dance between staying
Yeah.
alive because you're more valuable alive, but also, I mean, at certain times that can hinder you. It's like, well, now am I playing
Right.
for my life too much? Am I making sure that my team isn't getting an advantage? But you're
Yeah.
100% right. That was definitely a conscious thing that I had to think about, especially mid-season here, where it was like my team was like, start playing Reyna, start playing ISO, get off the jet, get off the dive, where it's too risky to have you die that early on. And I started playing that Reyna late this season, and I had like a 30 kill game. We started letting Zerke duel us again and let him play in. And exactly what you're saying, it was just like sometimes you're just more valuable to let someone else take over a specific role that you're comfortable with because it's better for the team.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
like
or like make sacrifices that, you know, you're not used to taking, but you know what I mean. Sometimes
100%.
whatever it takes to win, you know.
that was like the biggest change that we as PA expert have made this year, and it's paid dividends to the success that we found. Was that we struggled a little bit with sight holds. I would find myself last alive as initiator a lot because I've been a Cypher main for so long, and I took over initiator in IGL. And I found that I was playing a little bit too passive for the team. I would throw my util out. I was getting assists, but I wasn't there on site to support them. And I had 19 clutches this year or whatever. And if you're on Cinti and you're last alive, it's like one thing. But um, last alive on initiator shouldn't happen too often because you should be up there taking fights with your
Yeah,
duelists.
fighting for
And
space.
it's just
Yeah.
a totally different play style for me. And then we made a change where I went back to Cypher, and we put somebody that's kind of a little bit more aggressive on the initiator role and controller, and we kind of did a little bit of role shifting. And now when I'm last alive, I'm winning my gunfights. I'm more confident with my util. I'm in a way more comfortable position, and I think the team overall too has more support on the front lines with taking or just taking fights or taking sites or retakes. This kind of name, just kind of going down the list. And I think that's like a big reason why
Yeah.
we've had a lot of success. It's just because
Yeah.
just switching a role and switching a mindset. Because
Dude,
I
you
was
are
leading
so correct.
if I was on initiator for the entire season, I'm pretty close, even like now that I switched to Cypher for the whole second half, to the assists, top of the assist chart, and
Very
in the
nice.
entire expert league. But while I was getting assists, I wasn't doing my job to my
Humble
full
brag.
extent. So it's like,
Right.
so it's like, it's just like that
Like
whole
we're reaching
mindset.
your highest potential
Yeah,
kind of thing.
you have to be able to have like some humbleness about you. Like I knew I wasn't the best
Mhm.
initiator, but like on the advanced stats, I'm an S tier Sentinel player in the league compared to all the other Sentinels. So it's like, we just
Yeah,
got to
I
know
think
our
you bring up
strengths
a
and be
good
willing.
point. That's not something really that I hear talked about a lot, but it's something that I've talked about a lot with my team specifically. It's that I think that for some people in VDC, and I think for a lot of people, you're speaking words to something that a lot of people are feeling and that they aren't confident in. A lot of players, even in Mythic, don't really know how to play their role, or they're just filling a role because it'll get them on a team, right?
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's something that you have to discover. For me, it was in ranked. I mean, like, I had to know how I wanted to play immediately in the game. And so like I was a hard Reyna one trick. I liked to lurk. I liked to bait. I like play for my kills. I didn't like to use utility. Like this is when I first started playing Valorant. I'm like, Sova, wall hacks, darts, like Sage slows, all this. What's all this extra malarkey? You know what I mean? Like I want to get in there and I just want to use my gun and fight. And it kind of took me taking a step back and I was like, hey, I'm not having a lot of success on this. I'm not playing Reyna properly slow. I'm not doing this right. I'm not doing that right. And for me, it was like, okay, I knew coming from CSGO, oh, I just need to find a different role, you know? Maybe I'm not a lurker. Maybe I'm a support player. Maybe I'm an entry fragger. Maybe I'm this. So I'm like, let's try Jet out. And that was kind of something that I experimented with. Okay, well, now what's the other entry fragger? All right, raise. I'm kind of good at this. I like this, you know? It feeds the ADHD because you're constantly fighting for space. And I think there's a lot of players in the league that feel that way. And they're stuck on smokes. And they're dying too many times. And they're an apprentice or they're an expert. And they're like, what is going on? Honestly, my advice and something that I think that every player should be asking themselves is this my best role? Does this fit my pros and cons as a player?
Yeah.
And that's not something that anyone talks about. They just say like, yeah, I'm a controller player. And then I'm like, well, do you like to lurk? Do you like to do this? Do you like to delay your smokes? Do you like to smoke? Oh, I've never thought about it. Oh, I don't know. And it's like, well, when you start asking yourself those questions, even if you're a terrible player, your aim is potato, you don't have a lot of game sense, you should know what the character you want to play is, first of all, because that's things that you can watch on YouTube for free that you're going to throw the same way every game. You're going to set it up the same, you know, a lot of the times on these characters, you're going to be setting up the same utility on the same way on the same sites the majority of your games, no matter what comp you're facing in ranked or what team you're facing, because it's just a meta and proper way to do it. And that'll force you to play a specific way already. If you're used to playing Brimstone, it's going to take longer to set up your smokes than it is going to be for an Omen. You know what I mean? An Omen's going to play closer to a fight.
Yeah.
A Brimstone's going to play further back for his Molly. So it's like, even if you're a controller player, there's questions to ask yourselves. Do I like that Brimstone style of gameplay? Do I like playing for lineups and playing in the back and having to do a little bit more research outside of the game? Or do I like to play Omen where I can fear with my duelist and I can throw a quick smoke with my E, or I can... It's just completely different play styles that I think every player should ask themselves. And again, Jordo, I think that was you hit the nail on the head there with there's so many players suffering in roles that they think they're terrible at, when in reality it's just not their play style. So know yourself as a player the second you come in and trust that.
Yeah.
Or experiment.
And that's the thing too, is that even if you like playing controller or Senti, like there's different classes within each kind of like positional agent position as far as like controller, duelist. Like there's different styles of play that you can have within each class. Like if you're an aggressive player and you like playing duelist but you don't feel like you're very good at entering, like there is like the secondary contact duelist. Like
100%.
Cypher is a more aggressive sentinel player, like agent than the others, because you can set trips up, aggressive cages. Your cam can be a little
You
bit
can play
info.
on
Like
site with them. Yeah.
KJ, you want to kind of play off site and like get people when they're trying to run away from your alarm bot or util, like off of the mollies or things like that. Like it really, for me, that made the difference of like last season being one of the best players in apprentice tier to being one of the worst players in expert tier on a roster, and then all the way now back to like where like I've started top
Top again,
fragging.
baby.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's like it's just all about comfortability and just knowing yourself as a player and finding out what's my play style, what am I best
Yeah.
at, and then I mean like
And that
don't
doesn't mean you don't want to adapt and learn other ones. It just means that like
exactly.
sometimes you need a starting point.
Exactly. And like I took that chance. It didn't work out 100%. I think I could probably play initiator in some world, but it's with this particular team, we all needed to make a selfless decision
Right.
to change, right? So I think
WPA.
I just don't think that's what a lot of people like are willing to do. They have too much of an ego, and I think like it says a lot about players. I think I mean like you're one of the best players in the entire VDC, and you made a selfless decision along with your team to just say like, hey, you're our best player. Your life's very important, and we'd rather you not go in and die after you get one on site. We'd rather somebody take the initial contact and then you frag on the side. So it's
It sounds funny the way you say that too, right? Like, oh, you had to like humble your ego to say that you're best player. But as stupid as it sounds, it really did feel like that because I wanted to play Jet every map. I like opping more than I like anything else in the game, and I like playing Jet because of the idea that I have of Jet players in my head. All my favorite players, Tens, Aspas, are Jet
Right.
players primarily. And so like when my team was like, oh, let's play ISO, let's play Reyna, I really didn't want to. It was not something I didn't want to hand the reins over to Zerke, but I trusted Zerke, and I remember exactly what Zerke did for me in midway through the season. He was willing to learn Initiator, despite the fact that he never played it ever in his life. He queued it in
Yeah.
ranked. He was willing to try and learn it. So it's like, well, if he's willing to do that, then I should swallow the pill, swallow the ego, and just be willing to play characters I don't want to play because it's better for the team. It's such a good point. It's so important for every team, I think, to have those kind of conversations.
you know, kind of like touching on like that OS team, you know, like obviously in retrospect, hi chat, that is my new puppy back there. So I apologize for anything that she does back here behind me in the meantime. Kind of touching on that OS team, what are your thoughts? Like, what went wrong for this team this season? In your opinion, like if you could run it back, like, do you think that there's any changes or things that you would have done differently to kind of change the trajectory of that team? My dog's peeing in the background, so we're gonna have to cut this, or we can keep it in because it's kind of funny.
This is a
It's
blooper
staying.
reel.
It's staying.
Yeah,
Good old Nala Bean.
That's a good name, Nala. That's cute. I think there's a lot that went wrong, and there's a lot of things that I could change. I mean, I would change a lot of things. I would change some of the way I behaved in some of those games. I think obviously there was a lot of clashing personalities in a lot of these teams. We never had any blowouts like that fucking VTX video. That was crazy. I saw that in I think League Discussion channel. That was crazy. So it was nothing like that. But I think that when you
That
have
was a
to
roster of all
shuffle,
time.
that was probably the funniest video I've ever watched. It was also the most infuriating. Okay, well, I mean, what can I say? We had a lot of roster issues. We drafted 4 duelists. That was tough. That was hard. We had nobody that played any other role. 2 weeks in, we had to shuffle the roster. We didn't get a single preseason game in with a player that actually started the first game of the league, apart from me. And that's hard. That makes it difficult when you're shuffling players for the first month of the tournament. A second thing is, I didn't know how to lead. I didn't know how to do that. I try to take a more traditional coaching approach, but when you're a player, you can't be talking to your team like a coach. You can't.
Right.
You can't be on that, higher than higher than, or whatever the saying is, on a higher pedestal than they are.
Yeah.
And so I had to kind of readjust my way of thinking there too. Okay, like because a lot of players on my team, I was trying to teach certain levels of gameplay to them, and whether that's the right place or not, it's definitely not a player's job to be coaching the rest of the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think there is a level to that though. Like, so there are like different types of quote unquote power. There's like reverent power and like I'm starting to like my memory's starting to fail me, but it's like legitimate power, like blah blah blah. And so like or you could also change power for respect. Like, you know what I mean? Like I think that the ability to talk, or like coach your teammates comes with a level of respect that if you don't have that, like, then that's, like a big red flag. Like, you can't be talking to your team like that if, they don't even have that kind of respect for you in the first place. Whereas, if everybody respects you as a leader and like, expects you to, come at them with a type of, like aid, for lack of better terms, like then then you can get away with it. But like,
Yeah.
it just depends. It all depends on how the rest of your team sees you and if they feel like they need a coach or not.
I think with OS, it was a situation where they respected me as a player, but they didn't respect me as a leader. And
Right.
I think that I wasn't the right personality to lead this specific set of guys. You know what I mean? I think there was a lot of different ways that people looked at the game. And so for me, it was about taking a step back. And like I halfway through the season, I let Shiro take over as team captain. And it wasn't a salty like, oh, well, fine, he can have it. It was a situation
Right,
of,
right.
okay, it's better for me to be a player that like leads through in-game and leads through, what I'm doing on the server and back off, because there was a lot of situations where I'm causing pressure. I'm calling a play that I know is right. And the problem is that my team also knows it's right, but they don't know how to act on it, right?
Right.
So then they're making a bad play individually, trying to make my play, when it would have been better for them to just do the wrong play that was their play or whoever's play, right? Individually. And so then it's like, oh, okay, I'm causing more damage than I am good by calling these little sweatshops and setups. If we had played free, like the second half of the season, where everyone is just kind of, as awful as it sounds, just kind of doing what they want, we have so much individual talent on OS right now that we can get away with running 5 duelists in a game and winning. We can get
Right.
away with facing PN on no scrims and no practice on a map we've never played and do it because everyone's having fun, everyone's laughing, everyone's just shooting and playing the game. And we have the talent, individual talent to do that. It was just something that I had to realize sooner throughout the league. And I also think that, again, I missed 4 games, 3 match days. That hurts us. We had a lot of players that had real lives. Pixelson missed quite a few games. Mimo missed quite a few games. It was a constant rotation of players, and I think that kind of happens in every, apart from 2 mythic teams, that kind of happens to every mythic team. Everyone's kind of struggling to fill that roster all season. So many people just live lives, and it's hard to commit to those Wednesday and Friday games always.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean living life is good though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. You want to be busy, right? It's a good thing to be busy, but it does suck.
Hi.
Speaking of which, I know not OS. The VDC fan voting came out. I missed it by 1 game. Come on, admins. Let's look at that next season. Don't do me like this.
Don't worry. It's on the agenda. But,
Appreciate you.
So, looking at playoffs now.
Yeah.
Of the teams who made it, what do you were there any surprises? Were there any upsets that you think happened? Were there did you have any friends that are happy, you're happy who made it? Enemies maybe that you're not so happy they made it.
Yeah, I'm super happy LG made it. I have a lot of friends with Parker and Electron there. I get to talk to them sometimes outside of the game. I'm not really close with anybody outside of VDC. I don't get a lot of time just with family and work and stuff like that. But I definitely say that I had a podcast with Parker. I really enjoy getting to talk with him. Electron's been very supportive anytime I've had a. I mean, if people don't remember, when VDC first started, there was a lot of people that were not fucking with me. They did not know who I was. They're kind of rooting on my downfall, so that was a little bit weird. So I appreciated that so many people lended a hand out and were nice to me. And then towards the end of the season, the L7, Ariel has been super supportive in chat and stuff like that. So I've been super happy to see them do well. As far as teams that made it, I kind of expected the teams that would make it. I'm kind of shocked that MF didn't make it, considering how stacked their roster was outside of draft. I mean, they had Chumji, they had some other really cracked people. I can't remember who they were at the time. I think they had Burn at their roster at one point. They've had a nuts roster of players in and out of that team. They've also cut a lot of players, so I was kind of shocked that they ended up as far down as they did. PN, I think also nobody really expected them. Sog, Chris don't really talk in chat. Nobody really promotes PN like that. Like anytime PN's brought up, it's just like Piss Nation. And so I kind of thought they were a joke. And then I remember looking at the 6th of the week or something like that. And I'm like, holy, what? They're 12-0 or something like that. I was like, who are these guys? And we got to face them right at the end of the season. And I had a lot of fun facing them. And I think it was a good litmus test for how far OS had come.
Yeah.
Because 6 weeks ago, I was telling you guys, hey, we're winless right now, but I guarantee we're going to have 10 wins by the end of the season. All our games were close. And I mean, it ended up happening. I knew what it was. I knew it was going to happen. I wish we could have closed out a few more 2-0s, but
yeah,
I knew we had the talent there. It's just so unfortunate that it came so late.
By the way, VDC, I understand my camera shut off. I had an absolute diabolical situation unfold next to me due to my puppy.
Oh, no.
So I had to step away for a moment. So if you saw the camera shut off, just know that there was.
And me start laughing because he texted
that's
me.
why I started laughing too before I turned my webcam off. Yes, for anyone that wants to know, my dog did go 1 and 2, but they decided to take number 2 really close to me, and I cannot record smelling dog poop the entire time. So I had to hop away for a few moments to handle my dog dead duties. But
You love a responsible pet owner, though.
Yeah, you gotta take care of them. It's basically your children.
100%.
So, I mean, I guess one thing that I'm kind of curious about, is, you've played against all these teams, all these great players throughout the league. Who is taking home the grand finals? Who's winning the championship? Who do you think's gonna play against each other in the grand finals potentially? And who do you think's gonna come out on top?
I hate to be just kind of oh, I know who's going to win, but I feel pretty confident who's going to win. I feel like there's a large gap between Orion and the rest of the team, and it's Orion's the only team that I'm confident in. If we look at the records, LG have a close record, but then if you watch the LG games, didn't they just blow an 0-2 lead literally the last day of the season? Or they had leads both games, they lost both of them. Who was that against?
Opening wounds.
Oh, PN. It was literally against PN. There's your final right there.
Yeah.
Both close matches,
Yeah.
both 0-2 or lost both maps, 13-11 and 14-12. I think that's kind of going to be the story. I think it's going to be Electron going nuclear again with like 20. I was kind of shocked. I mean, I wasn't really shocked that Chris kind of went so nuclear, but when you have Chris and Sog both shooting the way they shoot in that team, and you got the role players who like can have like just random hard carry games.
Yeah.
Because like who are the weak links on that team? Gagaligo and Jackson, and it's like both those guys are good. You know what I mean? Like they both have games where they've dropped 25, 30 kills a season. So when your weak links are strong, it's like, man, where do you even go with that?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you make a really good point with I mean, you look at the OS Apprentice roster last season, like, you know, they had like their weakest link was like the #1 overall pick, maybe. Like, I mean,
Damn.
you know, they did not have a lot of weak links, and you know, they ended up winning the season. There you go.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's you know, there's a lot of teams that can make the like crazy high MMR, insane player, and like just shit can player bottom tier MMR like work, and some teams can't. Some teams
Right.
stick with a different formula, but I mean, it's cool that we've seen both formulas win in the past. So I mean, it's interesting to see how it all plays out at the end of every season.
I mean,
Yeah,
did you
it's
guys
a
have any
tough
thoughts
job.
on? Or I'm sorry, did you guys watch the Mythic games or no?
Have I been or
Yeah.
have I?
Like the last stream match game, specifically that LG
No.
PN game. Oh, okay.
I did not watch that. No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that because they actually made a swap. They made Parkzilla play Duelist last night with Electron.
Mm.
And Electron again has to like drop 30 every game for them to do well, and it's like, well, it's kind of like PN's got two fraggers, right? Sog and Chris versus the single one of Electron. But they tried to remedy that last night with Parkzilla. I thought it was a really good idea, so I want to give a shout out to LG. Like I thought that was a really good adaptation to play against PN, and it almost worked. Very close games in the series.
Yeah.
Also, like, really quick question before we kind of let you go though.
Yeah, 100%.
There's a big match in Apprentice coming up on Wednesday. The match coming up like after this is uploaded. It's PA versus High Tide. Last time PA 2-0'd High Tide. High Tide #1 overall team in the Apprentice tier. However, PA just made some roster moves, and they have the retired God. Who do you think's taking it down? Do you think HT gets their revenge, or do you think PA goes undefeated?
I think retired God drops 50, and I think they take the series.
I think that's valid.
I think we're getting a new kill record in Apprentice.
He might need to speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
In one series.
He does have this assist record, so I mean, he needs to
For
go
a
for
season,
another one.
Yeah.
He's got to go
gotta get a
nuclear and drop
different
1,000 then. I want like a 200 OT, you know?
I got you. Send MIBR. Got nothing on this. But
Tyzera, thank you again for your time once again.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's always a pleasure.
And,
Love talking with you guys.
And anybody that watches or frequents Twitch, make sure to go and subscribe to Tyzera and listen to Tyzera's podcast. Has a lot of really cool people from Mythic Tier on the podcast. Really cool style of content that I think a lot of you players in lower tiers or just in Mythic Tier would find interesting, or maybe you pick up on some things that some of the best players in the tier do. So I highly recommend checking him out. And Tyzera, if you want, we can leave that in the description. So anybody,
Yeah, please do.
We'll
have a playoff series coming up. Our playoff episode.
So
hell yeah.
Yeah. So stay tuned for that. And then until then, VDC. This has been Brimmy with the Hemi, #bang, and the retired God. We're back, and we should resume to normal scheduling. So
hopefully, see you in 2 weeks.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. Maybe we'll have another podcast stream on the VDC.
That was fun.
For
Yeah,
a
that was
playoff
fun.
series. So. Maybe we can have Tyzera hop on and join us. Maybe we can go watch a Mythic game. We gave the Apprentice tier
I've got time.
Hype last time. So, but VDC until then, peace.
Peace.